So we have been talking a little bit about the concept of personal growth how it has a direct correlation on your income growth. And this has been the theme that we've been talking about every morning meeting since last week. And I'm going to continue it until we break for the holidays, because there's so many little ways that we could be chunking this down. And there's so many little nuances when it comes to personal growth on how that affects our income growth. And so I decided we would chunk it down bit by bit on each of these broadcasts to help you. And if there's anything that is very specific to you, then leave a comment and let me know, what you're struggling with or what you've overcome. If you have anything that could help our other viewers too, leave that below, because we'd love to know that. So for those who haven't been here before, the reason I want to talk about the concept of personal growth correlating to your income growth, and I've said this on every broadcast and I'm going to say it again, is that it doesn't matter what your technical skills are. You can always make way more money than your technical skills would deem reasonable, right? Like for me, my entire business is built on video, and I know nothing about video, but what I do know is how to work with people and how to affect deep transformation. And the container I connect with people and the container I market with is through video. So what I do is I hire those skills out, or a lot of the artwork that we have, I hire out. I'm terrible at the back end. I'm terrible at admin. So I have team for that. So you can grow a company and you can make a lot of money, and you don't necessarily need to have all the skills that your company needs. However, your income growth can never exceed who you are and what you're going to step into. Just this morning, I received an email from somebody who is so afraid that she's not going to be successful, that she's not taking action in her business. She's looking for all the safe things that she can do to try to help her, instead of actually getting the help she needs. And that's because she doesn't believe in herself, right? So you have to have that personal growth piece where you know that you can achieve things, so that you can take the steps that you need to take. Now, today we're talking about a really important part of personal growth, and I think this is a really important piece of the puzzle when it comes to making money, and that's boundaries. Because boundaries are such a this really kind of piggybacks into what we talked about on Tuesday, when we talked about why it's so important to let go of what people think of you, like caring about what people think of you. You can never change what they're thinking, and most of the time they're not thinking about you anyway. They're thinking about themselves. And if they are thinking about you, it's in relation to how it affects them, right? So it's really all still about them. And so boundaries is another layer of worrying about what people think of you. And in business, having what I would call firm boundaries are really important. I asked in this one, no, I put that in my Facebook group, if you have firm, flexible, rigid, or squishy boundaries, and which ones you want to have. Now, obviously, nobody wants to have squishy boundaries, right? And yet, as entrepreneurs, and especially as women, I have found that squishy can sometimes be the norm. Squishy can be the way of operating, because we so much want to be liked, right? Like what we talked about. And if you haven't watched Tuesday's broadcast, go back and watch it. The replay is still here. Just scroll down a little bit. Now, the need to be liked is really something that can underlie a whole lot of things, and that because we're worried what people think of us. We don't want to hurt other people's feelings. We don't want them to think we're a big, like a cow. Like we want people to appreciate us and like us. And so that can lead to squishy boundaries, where you make a commitment, or you decide that, this is kind of what your boundary is. And then when it's tested, it's non-existent, right? Now, the other kind of boundary that can happen, which is the complete opposite of that, is rigid boundaries. And somebody who has really rigid boundaries is really difficult to deal with sometimes, but any of us can get to that point where we have rigid boundaries, where we just don't move. There's no room for compromise. And that it does the exact opposite. And I think what that is it's like you're rebelling because you've had squishy boundaries, now you're going to get really rigid, right? Because nobody's going to take advantage of you. So kind of where we want to work towards is to have firm and flexible boundaries. Less flexible, more firm, but we still want to have some flexibility in there, because sometimes things don't necessarily work out the way we want them to work out. You know that expression that says, always be flexible, but how you get to your goal, not the goal itself. So we need to have some flexibility when it comes to achieving our goals and achieving our income goals. and we still need to have boundaries. I'm just going to check over here to make sure to see what the comments are that are coming in over here. I'm just going to have a look and see if I can see anybody here. I don't see any comments yet, so that's fine. I'll just keep going then. And so when we think about this, how this relates to income growth, we really need to be thinking about things. And this is where I see a lot of entrepreneurs kind of trip themselves up. And you don't want to do that, right? Because this actually has a direct correlation on money. So obviously the first one is it comes up in pricing, having pricing boundaries. And this is somewhere where you want to be firm, and sometimes with a little bit of flexibility. And by flexibility, I don't mean you lower your prices or give discounts because you're worried people aren't going to buy from you, but that you're flexible in your approach, that you have multiple ways that people can work with you, so that if they're not, and I don't like the word can't afford, because I believe if somebody's in your world, they can afford it. They're just choosing not to take that step forward for whatever reason. And there could be a lot of valid reasons. It could be timing. It could be a whole lot of things. However, for whatever reason in that moment, they're not ready for your highest top end service. And so by having flexible boundaries, in this case, what you would have is just different ways they could work with you at maybe like a smaller package. I'm sorry, I have a little bit of a cough here and I just need to mute myself. Sorry about that. But where you want to be firm in your boundaries is that, your price is your price. So if your lower end package is $500, that's what it is. If your highest end package is $25,000, that's what it is. So you're going to be firm on that. And yet I've sometimes seen, especially when entrepreneurs are just starting out, that they're willing to negotiate, or they don't even, they make a decision in their head that somebody can't afford something, and so they just offer it at a discount anyway. Now, I'm not talking about marketing incentives. That's a whole different thing, where you put a structured incentive together to create demand and to create maybe like some scarcity. That's a different thing. I'm talking about, we just did that, right? We had a Black Friday sale on my best-selling program, The Secrets to Getting Booked. That's where we teach you how to fill your calendar with speaking gigs. And so we had a sale on that. And so we lowered our price, but that wasn't a squishy boundary. That was a strategy in our marketing strategy, and there's a lot of parts and pieces behind that beyond just what you see up front. And there was a strategic business decision behind it. However, where the boundary comes in is, when that sale was over, the savings disappeared, and it's disappeared. And I don't care if somebody can come begging me all they want, they're not going to get it, because I'm going to still be in integrity of the people that did step up, the people who did step up on time, and the other clients who hadn't necessarily got it at that particular savings, because it was a special Black Friday savings. So that's where the firmness comes in on the boundaries. So when you think about your pricing, if you're thinking about offering different things to different people, that is strategy. Where you want to be firm is when you're in the conversation, that you have the courage to actually ask for what you have decided your pricing is, and not to back down. And this is something that I help so many clients with, because a lot of times it comes down to beliefs and fear, and it's also a boundary. And so you can see how this particular boundary and growing in this area, it's not like an indirect effect on your bottom line. It's a direct effect, right? Where you don't discount your services, you ask for your full fee, and you ask for the sale. So another way that these type of boundaries are really important in correlating to your income growth is not letting people pick your brain. And we talked about that on the broadcast on Tuesday about wanting to be liked. And that really does come down to a boundary as well. And our episode today of Living Forward TV, you're going to want to watch it, because it's all about how to ask for money gracefully, easily, and to feel good about it and to do it with confidence. And one of the things I talk about in today's episode is why you need to be really, really clear on what is your free promotional content. And it's not free. If you're out there providing it, it's not free to provide it. It's not free to you. It's complimentary. It's a gift, right? The person taking the content is getting it free in that moment. However, obviously I know it's not free to you. However, you still need to be very clear on that container, on what that is, and I know in my business, I'm very, very clear that my broadcasts are what it is, or my Living Forward episodes are where I provide free content. And believe me, that is not free, but that's where we provide it. And our content upgrades and the free downloads that we give everybody, that is where I provide something for people to have access to. If they want personal attention beyond a 30-minute exploratory call, they have to pay for that, and I don't back down. And if somebody keeps calling looking for more free help, I have a very firm boundary. I don't talk to them again, right? Even if they're, we offer a complimentary business makeover session, and they get it once. They don't get to have that again and again and again and again. So this is where boundaries come in. And so if you are in your business and you're thinking about, you've got somebody that's constantly coming and saying just one more question and just one more question, that's where you need to have a boundary, because at a certain point they're taking away from you being able to earn income. And you think about it, if you were to go to a store and you just wanted the belt for the dress, they're not going to give that to you for free. You're going to have to buy the whole dress, and if you want that belt. And if they happen to sell it separately, then you have to buy it separately. You can't just have it. So having that boundary is a big area of personal growth. Now, I know it sounds like it's just really obvious, right? Like, well, of course they should pay for that. But it's amazing to me how many entrepreneurs and experienced entrepreneurs with big businesses, they get into those situations and they don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. And what they're not realizing is, here they are all worried about the other person and making that person feel okay and making them feel comfortable and not hurting their feelings or not coming across like a cow. I'm watching my language. They're worried about that when that person never gave them a second thought, never gave them the consideration, never respected them and their business and their time. They just took. So here they are wanting to treat someone who hasn't treated them that same way. And so that's where the personal growth comes in. You don't have to be unkind about it. However, for you to really grow your income, that's where the boundary comes in, and being able to set that boundary means you need to be working through whatever it is that's causing you to be afraid to set that boundary, right? And that's where it's so important to be working with your mentors, to be working with coaches. I mean, when I work with my clients, the amount of times we talk about things like, what are they afraid of? Or who's going to judge them? Or are they worried about someone's reaction? It's amazing how much of that will come up. And, we do exercises, and we have a lot of things that we can work on and help them with to get through that, because it's, I was talking to, it was really interesting. I was at a cocktail party on Saturday, and I was in conversation with James Wedmore, and we were talking to another colleague of mine, and we were talking about pricing, right? And he said, and I loved what he said, it was just so great. He said, yeah, like, raising your prices is really easy. Like, I can just go into your computer, if you give me the password, and I've changed them. But it's tough for you, right? You're still going to struggle with that. And it has nothing to do with the prices, because it's easy. It's the same with setting a boundary, right? Like, if somebody's trying to, in this particular situation, if they're trying to pick your brain, it's really easy. I mean, the answer is no. The answer is, if you want this help, you need to have a paid consult, or you need to be in a paid program. That part's really simple. It's I always say all the time, business is simple. It's the people that make it complicated. And so why is it difficult? That's because there's work that still needs to be done. There's work that needs to be done on knowing that you're still lovable, that you are safe, that nothing bad's going to happen if that person goes off and has a little temper tantrum and their own little kid stands up, shows up, right? Their own inner 2-year-old starts throwing a tantrum, that it has nothing to do with you. And that's the personal growth. That's the piece of being able to release the emotional charge on that. And it's not that you don't care. We're never talking about not caring about the other person. We're just talking about not caring about how their reaction, not caring about the reaction as it affects your reality, about caring about your reality and your business and your family and the things that you're meant to do and serve, more than somebody else who isn't respecting all of that. So that's a big area of personal growth. Now, another area of personal growth that comes in when it comes to boundaries is your time, and saying no to all those people that want, excuse me a minute, I'm so sorry about my voice, about all those people that maybe want your time. And I know, especially for entrepreneurs, and especially women entrepreneurs, when we leave our corporate role and we start working from home, a lot of times people don't understand that we're still working, right? That we have office hours. And they're never going to understand if we have office hours unless you actually set them, right? And that you prioritize your business. And so again, sometimes that gets really hard to say no. I did some episodes on this, like one for me is house guests. I mean, when I first started my business, I did not know how to say no to house guests. I did not have that boundary. And there was once, and we live on this beautiful, beautiful property up in the country. You can probably see behind me all the beautiful trees. We have a boat. We're out on the lake in the summer. We have a beautiful brick pizza oven in the backyard. And so our home is like a vacation spot for a lot of people. I created it that way to be a vacation spot for me because I love to live in a beautiful place. And so there was one summer where I didn't have the courage to say no. And literally every single week there was somebody here from the Victoria Day. So that's 1 week before Memorial Day in the United States. So 1 week before Memorial Day, our Victoria Day, all the way through to Labor Day, we had a guest. And sometimes I didn't even have 24 hours between guests. Like literally one would leave in the morning and another would show up that night, and I'd have to be, doing sheets. Well, I think my husband did the laundry, but still we'd have to get ready, clean up the fridge, bring more groceries. And you know what? It wasn't the guest's fault. It was mine because I didn't know how to say no. And not only that, I didn't know how to say no in terms of, I get that you're on vacation, but I'm not. And we have company for 4 months. So my business suffered. And that all came down to not wanting people to be upset, not wanting to hurt other people's feelings. So again, this came down to the personal growth. Because it can feel really mean sometimes when you have to say no. However, it's not mean when you're actually just really getting your priorities straight and sticking in line with your goals. And being able to do that kindly and lovingly is an area of personal growth. And it is a boundary. So there's a whole lot of other things we could be talking about today, and I wanted to maybe think of just like a few more that could come up that could help you in your business. Oh, like another one is I think, when it's time to get team and you need your team to show up, or you need your team to stick to their office hours, or you need your team to be reliable and they're not doing what they need. And then you have to set a boundary with them on what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. And again, it's simple. Let's just say you want somebody to work from 8 till 2. That is really, really simple. Now, if you're in an office, people tend to respect that a little bit more. When they work from home, they might think, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to work from 10 till 4, or I'm going to switch it up today. And you might not mind that once, but maybe that is not something that you want in the long run. Or maybe you have a team member who's constantly late in their deliverables, and so you have launches going on, you have webinars happening, and they're not getting the deliverables ready. I remember when I first started, I hired this VA firm, and I had this webinar, and obviously I didn't know a lot about webinars at the time. I mean, now we have a whole onboarding strategy, but at the time I thought I just needed to send out an email before it started, which there was a whole lot more to it that I needed to do, but that was still an important email, and it went out an hour after the webinar. So nobody was on the webinar, and when I spoke to the team member about it, they're like, well, sorry, okay, I got the time zone wrong. How's that my fault, right? And I just took that on myself. And so again, this is where boundaries come in, where you have the expectation in your business of how you want things done, and you have every right to ask for that, right? Because having it done the way it needs to be done is what's going to create the income for you. And again, it's simple. No, that was a big mistake. You should have had and I should have checked that, right? To make sure it was the right time zone. But let's get back to the scheduling or missing deadlines. No, this is simple. Your hours are 8 to 2, or no, this is the deadline. It has to be delivered by such and such a time. Very simple. Not easy to implement because it's a boundary, and because it all still comes down to worrying what people think of us. And it's crazy when you think you're paying somebody and you're hiring them that you need to be worried about what they think of you. However, I mean, we all want to have cohesive teams. We want our teams to be engaged. We want them to buy into our vision. And so we don't want to come in with an iron fist at all. I wrote an article about this. It's on LinkedIn. I'm going to see if I can find it. And if I can, I'll put a link to it here. I can't promise because I did it a few years ago, but I talked about having a big stick. It doesn't work in business. It doesn't work with your team. And that becomes having what we call a rigid boundary. However, what happens with a lot of entrepreneurs is they go the complete opposite way and end up having totally squishy or non-existent boundaries. So boundaries are really an important part of the whole personal growth area. And I mean, I could spend all day talking about them. What I would love to know from you is there a boundary that you find more difficult to honor and respect for yourself than another one? And where setting this boundary could help you make more money, where it could help you have more time for your business, where this boundary could help you attract more clients. And what is the personal growth that you need to do? Like, what is the fear you need to overcome to set that boundary? See you guys later. Bye.